Welcome. I'm going to read Neville Goddard's Pruning, Shears of Revision. I've read it before on my channel and on other channels, but I struggle to get through it completely. Also, since I know that this reading won't be perfect, I'll probably end up reading it again. So, I go to this site called coolwisdombooks.com. I got there by Googling Neville Goddard Pruning, Shears of Revision. And they have this speech that he gave, 19... I'll have to look it up. I think it might have been 1956 that Neville Goddard gave this speech. Maybe October, but I will look it up. Maybe I should do that now. What year? Pruning. And what I'll do is I will put a timestamp so that if you want to skip this part, you can just get to the reading of Neville Goddard's Pruning, Shears of Revision. 1954, the year my mom was born. So, 70 years ago. Beautiful, beautiful. 70 years ago. God bless my mom. God bless that year. God bless Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard Lectures, Pruning, Shears of Revision by Neville Goddard. Wisdom. This also I'm reading outside, so there will be cars and sometimes I'll pause depending on how loud they are, and it'll give me an opportunity to take a break, which is part of the reason I struggle to finish this. Neville Goddard Lectures, Pruning, Shears of Revision by Neville Goddard. This morning's subject is the pruning shears of revision. I firmly believe that if you will wisely and daily use the pruning shears of revision, that you will find there is no objective beyond your ability to realize. There is no objective beyond your ability to realize. And I mean that seriously. No objective beyond your ability to realize. When I was a boy of 7, a lady said to me, "I have had a vision concerning you." I'll make it now very, very clear to you. I do not know what it is you are going to do, but I've been shown. You will do something that through the centuries after you are gone, man will not undo it. I can see it, and through the centuries, you will grow in stature long after you have been gone. And then 3 men will be mentioned in hundreds of years to come, and you will be one of the 3 when something is discussed that was done for man. I feel that this morning's subject, that this could be it. That if I never said another word and you heard it and believed it and realized and really used it, this would be the planting that would spread from us here that tomorrow could not undo. For it is magic, this pruning shears of revision. It really is not only the achievement of objectives, but if you do it daily, it will awaken in you the Spirit of Jesus, which is continual forgiveness of sin. In this teaching, the sinner should always go free. You will never condemn him, for when the Spirit is awake in you, you will realize in him there is no condemnation, only forgiveness. And forgiveness is not as man of the world thinks when he omits the actual execution of his revenge. What we mean by forgiveness, the identification of the other, that we would forgive with the ideal that other wants to embody in the world. What we mean by forgiveness, the identification of the other that we would forgive with the ideal that other wants to embody in the world. And so we do to him what we expect or would like the world to do to us. So whatever I myself would like to embody, that is the vision I must hold of every man that I meet in the world. That no man is to be discarded, every man is to be redeemed, and my life is the process whereby that redemption is brought about. And I do it by simply identifying the other with the ideal I want to externalize in my world. Now we will go back to the 2nd of Genesis. It is said, "And God placed man in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it." Now when you read this story, you think it happened thousands of years ago. I have come to tell you it is now. You are now in the Garden of Eden, and you think you are shut out or banished. You are in it, and the garden is your mind. But you need, like every gardener, you need pruning shears. For you have slept, as you are told in that 2nd chapter. Having slept, weeds have appeared in the garden, and the weeds are revealing themselves by the conditions and the circumstances of life. For your garden is always projecting itself on the screen of space. And you can see by looking carefully at your world what you allow to grow in the garden of God. But you have a mission, you have a purpose. It is not to amass a fortune. You can do it if you want to. It's not to be famous. It is not to be some mighty power, but simply to tend the garden of God. That's your purpose. You are placed in the garden to dress it and to keep it, that only the lovely things grow in the garden of God. Now every man in this world is rooted in you who look out and see that world. Every man is rooted in me. He ends in me as I am rooted in and end in God. Because he is rooted in me, he cannot bear other than the nature the root allows. So he is in me, and any changes desired in the outer world can be brought about only if I change the source of the thing I see growing in my world. You see yonder fields. Don't be surprised when you see sesamum. The sesamum was sesamum. The corn was corn. The silence and the darkness knew. So is a man's fate born. So don't judge it, because you are the source of the thing that you are beholding. Now turn within and prune it by using these pruning shears of revision. Now this is how we do it. At the end of my day, I review the day. I don't judge it. I simply review it. I look over the entire day, all the episodes, all the events, all the conversations, all the meetings, and then as I see it clearly in my mind's eye, I rewrite it. I rewrite it and make it conform to the ideal day, I wish I had experienced. I take scene after scene and rewrite it, revise it, and having revised my day, then in my imagination, I relive that day, the revised day, and I do it over and over in my imagination until this seeming imagined state begins to take on, to me, the tones of reality. It seems that it is real, that I actually did experience it, and I have found from experience that these revised days, if really lived, will change my tomorrows. When I meet people tomorrow that today disappointed me, they will not tomorrow. For in me I have changed the very nature of that being, and having changed him, he bears witness tomorrow of the change that took place in me. It is my duty to take this garden and really make it a garden by daily using the pruning shears of revision. I know from experience it will not only bring about these objectives and bring about these changes, but the glorious thing is it awakens in you who use it the Spirit of Jesus. And you find yourself then not just justifying, but forgiving. And you will realize that freedom and forgiveness are indissolubly linked. You cannot be free and not forgive, for the one that you would bind and judge and condemn anchors you by your own judgment of him, for he is in you. And so by identifying him with the ideal you want to really realize, you free yourself. You are told, forgive and you shall be forgiven. Forgive not, and then you shall not be forgiven. It's automatic. It can't be otherwise, for the whole springs from you who behold it. And as you begin to practice it, the very Spirit arouses itself within you, and you know you are he that others spoke about and thought lived 2,000 years ago. So when you realize it through actual knowledge. You know it, no argument. You don't tell others. You know that you are he. And then you will read the words in the 9th of Hebrews. He appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And you will know you are the one that put away sin by the sacrifice of self. And by the sacrifice of self, it's not being a brave one who throws himself in the line of fire to protect a brother. It doesn't mean one who gives his body to be burned, one who is nailed on a cross. But the self of man is the sum total of that, is the sum total of all that that man believes and consents to as true. So that's the self that is sacrificed. I heard of this lady, and she would make some man a wonderful wife, and yet she is unwed. She desires to be the companion of a great noble person, but she is unwed. I heard that. That becomes part of myself. That's my knowledge. I must sacrifice that self, that aspect of my being be as happy as I am and those in my world are. For that's the self I must sacrifice and put away sin. For sin is the mystic means. For sin to the mystic means missing the mark. It doesn't mean the violation of certain codes, unless, of course, you have a mark and the violation fell short. But sin to the mystic is simply having an aim in life and failing to realize it. So when you miss the mark, you have sinned. So he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself, and knowing that he himself is only all that he consents to, all that he accepts, all that he believes to be true, then what am I believing concerning that one? He is unemployed, and he can't find a job. I'm believing it. Now put away that sin where he is missing his mark, and then by the putting away of the sin, I do it only by the sacrifice of myself, and myself is that belief. So now I revise. I can't say, well, I will no longer believe he is unemployed. I believe he's unemployed. I do it by the pruning shears of revision. I bring him before my mind's eye, and I congratulate him on his good fortune, because he is now gainfully employed. I allow him to accept my congratulations, because I do not see a man unemployed. I see him employed, and he knows he is in my mind's eye. For in that state, I have pruned him from the unemployed state, and once more reshaped the branch that grows in the garden of God. Tomorrow people will see him as they could not have seen him before by the pruning that took place within me, and he will be gainfully employed. That one is unwell. You prune that branch. You don't accept one thing in the world as final unless it conforms to the ideal you want to realize in the world. But you do it daily. If you do not prune it daily, you will get out of the habit. Then weeds will grow. Every man who really is a gardener, who calls himself a gardener in the garden of God, for every day is the opportunity to really prune the tree, this wonderful tree. And so everyone that you meet is a branch rooted in the vine that you are, and you are that special tree in the garden of God, a tree bearing life, a tree bearing fruit for the food of the nations. You are that one. If you take me seriously today, tonight do not let the sun descend upon any vexation of the day. Just look at it. Don't deny it. Don't duck it. Look at it, that you may prune it and then reshape it. Take the conversations with your friends today. Were they pleasant? Were they arguments? No matter what it is. Were they negative? Then rewrite the script and just imagine the conversation to have taken place that now you are rewriting for the first time. And it will take place. For everything in your world that you behold, though it appears without sin, or though it appears without, it is within in your imagination. And this wonderful imagination of yours is Christ Jesus. Imagination is the actual habitation of every created thing. No matter what you see in the world, it springs from your imagination. So that's where you go. That's the workshop, the garden of God. And now you have a mission. You have a purpose in life. It's a noble purpose because you have been selected to really become the chief gardener in the garden of God. And in the garden, you must have pruning shears. And pruning shears is revision. You simply revise, and as you revise the day, you repeal the day, for the day is not slipping into the past.